Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy that you could be with us today and join us for our last official gathering as AFP Austin for 2020. We will not have a meeting next month, but hopefully we'll see you between now and then. I do want to take a moment as hopefully you know me and can see on my screen, I'm Amy Jackson, and I've had the honor and privilege of serving as this year's president. It's been a year like no other, it goes without saying, but we have been able to continue to bring the educational programming, a one-day conference, and support to our members in the community through these times, and we're not done. So I just you for your continued membership and the work that you do here in the community for all the nonprofits that you represent. Thank you for giving me this opportunity this year to serve you and to serve our chapter at large. So again, welcome today. I do have a few brief announcements before we get into our program, and I'll be introducing our speaker. So please, if you've not already, save the date for Philanthropy Day 2021. I will mention today is National Philanthropy Day, but we as Austinites do it differently. It will be March 11th. It will be virtual this year. It will be still during our traditional noontime hour. So this week, information will be going out as well as sponsorship opportunities, and be considering if your organization can be a part of that. As a nonprofit to honor someone special, but to be a part of such a special day that our chapter does each year. Be looking for your inbox or your social media. We will have another round of scholarships released November the 15th, so next week. And then also we are in our annual campaign period for the chapter. I'm sure you've received some letters and received some reminders in the email. We do ask that you would consider a gift. No gift is too small. Our final push is going on right now. We'd like to wrap up around Thanksgiving. And any gift does go to support the local chapter here and all the scholarships that we provide, as well as programming like today. So I do hope you consider a gift to support our chapter. I just want to again reiterate how grateful I am, and I hope as we go into a season of celebration and gratefulness that you and your families remain healthy and are blessed. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tanya Fitzgerald, who is our speaker today, and I can't go without mentioning she is with Blackbaud. Her official title is Senior Product Marketing Manager, but I want to thank Blackbaud, who is also one of our fabulous longtime supporters of the chapter in so many ways. So thank you, Blackbaud, too, for your support. So Tanya is based out of Charleston, South Carolina, and prior to joining Blackbaud, she was the Board and Special Projects Manager for the South Carolina Aquarium, focusing on major gifts and fundraising events while managing a board of directors and a junior board at that organization. So she's one of us. Previously, Tanya also was involved with Louie's Kids, a nonprofit that focuses on childhood obesity and family wellness. And for 6 years as a board member, she managed their fundraising efforts as a volunteer. Currently, she's involved with the Charleston Animal Society's fundraising efforts and executes all fundraising for Scottish Terrier Rescue of the Southeast. Tanya enjoys giving back, sharing her nonprofit knowledge, helping Blackbaud customers succeed. Welcome, Tanya, and we're so happy for you to be here today. I will note her camera is not currently working, but she's trying to get it going, but we will get to hear her voice, and she has a wonderful slide deck to share with us and all the information. If you do have questions for her, please put that in the chat. We'll be addressing those as we go along today. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Can y'all hear me? Yes.
We can hear you.
All right, let's share my screen. Okay, and you can see my screen, right? Okay, wonderful. All right, well, everyone, thanks so much for having me. And we're going to be talking about the event world, the one that was really, really affected in 2020, and how we're going to, move forward with it in 2021. So, As Amy said, my name is Tanya Fitzgerald. I work for Blackbaud. I have been with Blackbaud for about 4 years. I am a native to Charleston, South Carolina, and you can see my efforts are somewhat thematically focused at the moment. Charleston Animal Society is a huge place in my heart. Of course, Scottish Terrier Rescue the Southeast. I have 3 rescue dogs, and they are the ones that actually broke my camera this morning. I also volunteer for the Alliance of Therapy Dogs. Yes, my one dog that broke my camera actually is a certified therapy dog and visits the MUSC Children's Hospital. So he apparently knows how to behave out of the house, but not in the house. So I apologize, my camera's not working. So today's agenda, let's quickly talk about it. We're going to talk about statistics and trends first, right? I work for Blackbaud. We love data. Okay, and that's how we start things. So we're going to go over that first. Then we're going to reimagine the in-person peer-to-peer event. Talk about traditional events. Those are those registered events, those golf tournaments, those galas. How are we going to do those moving forward? And then we're going to talk about empowering and stewarding your supporters, because that's something you really need to do all year long. And it's one of my little soapboxes since I, managed a board of 46. Stewarding was a huge part of keeping it going throughout the year. So this can be a high level overview there, but I kind of want to just mention it. So let's start with statistics and trends. I pulled some information from the Blackbaud Charitable Giving Report to share with you first. Okay, so in 2019, for the first time, our study indicates that the 80-20 rule has become true, right? Finally, we hit it. 20% of our donor households were responsible for 80% of all giving in 2019. Now, this is important to remember as you plan for your events in 2021, to take certain donors' preferences into consideration. Events are always about exposure, right? Mission awareness. And as important as these are, we need events to be bigger revenue generators for 2021, more than they normally mean, which means you want your dedicated supporters on your side. You want them to agree with the decisions that you're getting ready to make. Okay, so taking this one step further, more significantly, the share of philanthropic giving from just 1% of those donor households has grown from a little over 1/3 in 2011 to nearly 1/2 in 2019. We also observed this trend after the last recession. So the relationships with these donors is even more fragile right now, and they really need to be handled with the utmost of care. Okay, so now let's look at some of these 2020 numbers. These are these interesting numbers that we're all wondering about, right? This chart compares the 12 months prior to June of 2019 versus the 12 months prior ending in June of 2020. I feel that this is such valuable information, and we can actually use this to help gauge giving during this pandemic. So this data is actually showing us an immediate decline in giving during the wake of the pandemic, right? We all felt that. This is when those businesses were closing and all of your events were just canceled by the dozens. But our data is also showing us that in April, overall giving spiked as donors responded to the heartache of their organizations. So fundraising by large organizations with an annual total fundraising valued more than 10 million was actually up 2%. Medium-sized organizations with an annual total fundraising between 1 and 10 million had an actual increase of 1%. And those small nonprofits, they did feel it though. With an annual fundraising total less than a million, they actually experienced a 0.8% decrease in fundraising. So my point here is that your donors, they're pretty much sticking with you. They want to be a part of your team. And in return, you really need to give them the respect to listen to their concerns, their needs, and even their ideas. So high level touch of mobile giving here. Just want to quickly talk about it because it's been on the rise through 2020. Lots of events have mobile giving components, and I suggest that y'all really integrate mobile giving into any type of event that you have in the future. In 2019, an estimated 26% of online donations were made using mobile devices. Now, this has grown steadily since 2014 when it was just only 9%. And what we did is we analyzed online giving from April through June of 2019 and compared it to April through June of 2020. And there was a 36% increase in online giving. Now, since everything turned virtual this year, and we have absolutely no idea really how long this is going to last, introducing these mobile giving strategies with any effort that you're due is really key. And this means your events. Okay, so this chart right here, this analysis is of event programs that were scheduled between January 1st and June 15th of this year. And it excludes any event with no fundraising. Calculating the number of events that have been canceled, pivoted, or rescheduled is not an exact science. It's actually kind of tricky. To help understand the trend around canceled, pivoted, and rescheduled decisions, we compared the number of programs scheduled year over year that take place every month. Now, prior to March, the number of events taking place had decreased by 18% year over year. So we can logically assume these event cancellations were made prior to the COVID outbreak and are unrelated to the pandemic. Now, since most of North America went into the lockdown around mid-March, and we really haven't reopened those large-scale gatherings yet, we can assume that any program that remains scheduled in the spring pivoted to a virtual engagement. And the programs are different in events here. Some of them were actually probably scheduled all together. So you have virtual and rescheduled. And you can see that 20% were canceled or rescheduled, and that 62%, they remained strong and they went virtual. So the spring event analysis for peer-to-peer events, I'm talking about peer-to-peer events here from the Blackbaud Charitable Giving Report, revealed that overall fundraising was down by 53% year over year, and registration was down 57% as the pandemic, progressed, moved forward. So most in-person peer-to-peer events, fundraising, followed a large growth curve that reached their highest rates ever as the event grew near. So this means that the fundraising momentum built in the early days of your peer-to-peer event influences increase your total potential fundraising dollars. They play a huge part. In layman's terms, the sooner participants can register for peer-to-peer events, the more time they have to actually fundraise on your behalf. So sticking with peer-to-peer here, because this is a big part, and this is a lot of the virtual events that we had this year and ones that are going to continue into early next year. Team metrics here, they have been impacted by the pandemic, however, not as severe as the general participation population. Doubling down on team recruitment remains the smartest strategy that you can continue to do. As the pandemic progresses and lingers and everything, registration declined, but team captains are representing a very large percent of your overall participation population. These guys, these team captains have remained the most loyal to your fundraising program. So you want to continue to encourage these guys, focus on retaining them. They are the ones that are on the front lines throughout the community, promoting your events for you. So we also did a survey that states that event organizers, we surveyed these guys, and approximately about 1 out of every 3 of event organizers are marketing that in-person events will happen either in person as originally planned, or that a decision has yet to be made on if it's going to go virtual. So there's really no clarification here, right? Everyone, like the community, doesn't know what's going on with that event. So what we see here is delaying this decision has proven to damage events. The wait and see method has shown us that it results in a lesser participation amount. So one thing I want to make sure that y'all take away from this when we're finished with this webinar is that the need to make a decision and stick with it is crucial for the success of your event. Okay, so let's focus on the reimagine in-person peer-to-peer event. Since peer-to-peer events can be done in smaller groups, for now, it's safe to focus on the modified version, right? And so I think peer-to-peer events are a great way to have that in-person hybrid event. So that's what we're going to talk about. So as we talk more about it, I kind of want y'all to read this quote and think about it as we go over these next few slides. The key to driving local engagement is to give your volunteers, your event participants, and team captains the tools, ideas, and freedoms to engage their community on their own terms. This is super important because this will make your supporters comfortable in helping you sustain your mission during this difficult time. Okay, so let's start with, the two most common kinds of peer-to-peer events. They are the non-competitive event and the competitive event. The non-competitive event is a non-athletic event. There's no really true fundraising goal per person, and it can be, virtual or hybrid at the same time. Doesn't really matter. Each can be very effective. An example of this type of event would be that traditional walk, where supporters raise money as they walk a predetermined distance, right? But there's no competition to it. Now, the competitive event does have an athletic component. It has a fundraising goal, and it can also at the same time still be successfully done virtually or that hybrid method. These types of events are normally your cycling events, where it has like a predetermined course, right? Any type of endurance event that has a predetermined route and a monetary goal. So as you're hosting your peer-to-peer hybrid events in person, you want to make sure that you showcase three characteristics, right? This actually pertains to any event, but we're talking, in-person peer-to-peer right now. So you want to have a community building aspect to it. Don't allow supporters to feel as, they're just registering for an event, but more so that they're joining a community. They're uniting with others that are like-minded, and they're going to be part of something that's bigger than them. Online experiences are accelerating, but it has never been more important to return to our pre-digital peer-to-peer fundraising roots to build those relationships more so in that grassroots, personal kind of way. And the digital experiences. So most pre and post event engagement, have largely been digital for many years. The difference is the engagement can no longer be autopilot. You can't just copy last year's email campaign. You can't just copy the social media calendar. Even with a little bit of tweaks here and there, that's not going to be enough to inspire the pandemic participant. The reimagined digital experience will capture your grassroots efforts, and it's going to actually help amplify it. So we need you to just think outside the box. Get ready to be creative. Let your imagination just soar. Okay, so moving on to the optional on the ground experience. This is where this hybrid approach starts to become important. So ask yourself this: what is so special about a special event? They give us something to look forward to and take us out of our everyday routine. It's also this feeling of collaboration leading up to the event where everyone comes together for this one experience, this one cause. Though it may have worked as a reactionary kind of measure in the spring, a Zoom meeting or Facebook Live, that's just not going to be enough right now to deliver that memorable experience, especially for those who already feel they're ready to participate in some type of socially distant way. This is the time that you need to take your risks. This is the time to listen carefully to your community, 2020 is going to be remembered for so many things, and it's also going to be remembered for the year that changed the traditional peer-to-peer fundraising event. By granting yourself, your staff permission to truly re-engage, reimagine your event, you're going to breathe new life into it. You're going to breathe new life into your communities. And in the long run, you're going to breathe new life into your mission. So how do you kickstart your hybrid peer-to-peer fundraising event? You're going to start with that survey. The best ideas come from those that are closest to the event. Your volunteers, your team captains, your top fundraisers are going to be super helpful here. They are the ultimate subject matter experts, and they're going to take pride in helping to offer their ideas and to support and reinvent your event. Then you're going to determine that event goal. These fundraising minimums, right? These are tricky right now. Many organizations have chosen not to enforce fundraising minimums during this time, but we may find that as the on the ground components are added back in, that minimums may start returning slowly. Now, this is going to be up to your discretion. There is absolutely no right or wrong answer here. Some organizations might find their community is ready for the minimums. Some might not be there yet. So just listen to the feedback that you're getting and decide if you want to set it or if you don't. And this is going to help you determine that goal that you set as your second task to move forward with planning the event. Okay, themes. Even if you never had one before, introducing a fun theme to your reimagined event can give participants something else to rally behind. Your creativity will help them empower their ideas, their creativity, as well as getting them more engaged into the event. This is where you can give your community a bigger purpose. You know, what happened to your organization in 2020? Is there a certain effort that needs more attention and funding? Getting your community to rally behind it is key. You can make your event restricted around this effort and drive this specific purpose to get everyone to, follow behind it. Okay, reallocating the budget. Your budget was mostly spent for day of activities, right? But now we're kind of thinking, we want to allocate more room for your participant and communicant engagement prior. So for example, when registering, participants could receive a window sticker indicating they are supporting your event in 2020. Another example could be like a team captain kit, or participations might receive other surprises like yard signs. Yard signs are great, for your top fundraisers. Basically, you're instilling a sense of community collaboration prior to the event to drive this excitement. Sponsors. So your reimagined event provides an opportunity for sponsors to kind of get in with the newest event in town, the trendiest one, as creative as you can be. They're going to be able to get involved in ways far beyond logo placement and digital materials. So since hybrid events can go on for a span of days, sponsors can be given exposure beyond just that single day. And that's what you want to share with them. You want to capitalize on this. Show them ways that you can increase their exposure over that period of time versus just the day of. Gratitude and attitude. Okay, so you want to surprise and delight here. While you can chat with participants via email, text, Facebook, people also remarkably are willing and excited to chat on the phone. They want to receive things in the mail or have surprises delivered to them, little thank you gifts, maybe t-shirts delivered to their front door. Also, you want to sing the praises of your participants from the rooftops. They might not say it, but everyone loves to see their name in lights, especially when they've been working hard. And it could drive them to do more. Go the extra mile for these guys this year. They're willing to do it for you, so you need to do it for them. And then connecting participants. So the most successful event staffs will spend a lot of time building the community with participants through like training rides, happy hours, fitness classes, anything that's going to enhance collaboration. And don't let social distancing stop you here. Keep in mind that not every collaboration effort needs to be virtual. Much like the event itself here, there are going to be some participants who are eager to get together in that socially distanced way, so you can't forget that. Okay, so I like to show some examples just because I'm very much an example person. It helps me kind of put all the information in context. So here I have an example of a non-competitive peer-to-peer event that was done virtually. The ALS Association did a great job here with their superhero Chicago walk. Their goal was to, instead of having one big event day, they pivoted to have 150, that's so many, 150 mini walks on one day. So all the participants are doing the walk on the same day here, but in private groups. And this is great because it drove a large sense of awareness because of how spread out the participants were. They also had a cumulative goal of $450,000. And I'm happy to report that they exceeded that goal, I believe, by 6%. So they really, really, really did a great job here. They also supplied tools for their teams to walk in small groups. They had signs and digital communications ready to go for each team as they registered and participated. They distributed superhero boxes to each team captain equipped with masks, capes, and further like just fun enhancements. Since their theme was originally going to be superhero prior to COVID, it fit in so nicely when they had to dub their supporters superheroes. It just became really seamless and genius. And even children, I've seen pictures here, even children were able to dress in their favorite superhero costumes and walk with their families. Then they had some cool incentives. The teams that were raising the most money, were surprised by their efforts. They actually had maybe superheroes pop in during their walk event, or there was a surprise catered dessert station at the end. These are great examples of how to have a successful virtual peer-to-peer event. Okay, so moving on to the competitive hybrid event. Summer of the Ride is an organization that fights cancer, and they took their annual cycling event and turned the one-day event into a 4-weekend event. They hosted rides throughout the entire month of August for individuals and teams. The route was previously predetermined to make it fair, and they only sent out 10 riders at a time. I believe masks were required, and then they did it in 20-minute waves. So team captains, they got yard signs. They got items that made them stand out, alerting the community they were a participant, driving collaboration and awareness that you need for an event. This one was super successful. They did a great job if you want to look it up. They had over 8,000 participants. They distributed over 3,000 lawn signs. That's huge. And they exceeded their fundraising goal. Okay, so let's move on to traditional events. And this is, I'm talking about the registered events like the golf tournaments and the galas, which I'm sure is on everybody's mind at the moment. I used to run the gala for the South Carolina Aquarium, and I know it takes at least 8 months to plan. Okay, but before we dive in, I have another quote for you to think about as we go over these slides. Nothing is usual as business right now. To hit a website and see business as usual is disconcerting. It says to your visitor, you don't understand me. You don't know what I'm going through. This institution is divorced from my current reality. And this is from the organization Turkey, and it really just resonated with me. So this slide applies to all traditional events and, honestly, for all events that matter in the near future. Doesn't really matter if they're virtual or in person, but there are 3 things that all event participations need to start with. You need to first develop that committee. You want to choose a committee that's going to work for you. one that has strong supporters that's actually going to do the work. Committees are so hard to develop, but you have to choose wisely when you're choosing these people. A good person to put on your committee would be one that's active, but you think that has more potential. The committee seat will drive ownership for that person, and it's going to get them to commit to the success of your event. Okay, and you're going to want to secondly choose, is it going to be virtual? Is it going to be hybrid? Is it going to be in person? This will be decided largely by the committee. Now, they're the ones that are going to be pushing it, selling the idea to the community, so you want to make sure they're on board. They have to be 100% behind this decision. Here is where surveying the board, your volunteers, staff is going to be helpful, but ultimately, this is going to be up to the committee and the leadership on how to run it. Changing the event midstream will change its success. So you want to make this decision and you want to stick with it. Don't change it unless you absolutely have to. So you want to choose a date and you want to stick with it. Don't change that either. Moving dates gets so tricky, and a rescheduled event, it is just never as successful as the original planned one. It just never is. I've never seen one that is. So just choose a date, stick with it, choose if it's going to be virtual, hybrid, or in person, and stick with it. Don't change. Okay, so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into different types of traditional events. I'm going to use the gala as an example because I believe it's just on everybody's minds right now. And also because, I know gala season is in the spring normally, but I've been to galas in February, so you might have one coming up. So I'm going to start with the traditional virtual gala in case you do have coming one up soon. And you can use these tips and tricks on making it fun for your participants. So a great thing about the virtual gala is instead of turning it, you take that one day event, you can turn it into this huge, robust experience. So leading up to the event, you're going to launch a communication campaign to keep this excitement going. The more information you share about the event, the more momentum it's going to build and the more success you're going to have, right? So 1 month prior, let's start there. Here you're going to launch that communication plan with the details of the event. By now, everyone knows it's virtual and they're prepared for this virtual experience. You're going to want to unveil the theme of your event if your invitation does not originally show it, because you want your supporters to get involved with this theme. You can also announce that there will be prizes for guests that are dressed in alignment, right? So you want them to feel the part in their home. So have them dress thematically and make a competition out of it. Encourage backdrops, have them add props, have fun with this. Everyone, honestly, all ages, loves a dress theme, especially when prizes are involved. Here's where you can urge your board to participate and make it a competition between peers. This is going to help drive participation. And you want to make these prizes special, like experiences, right? Things they can't buy. This is going to help the donor connect to your mission, and it's going to cost you nothing. So at this time, you're also going to want to launch your silent auction. Allow for early bidding. Use an auction software 30 days in advance. This is going to help your items gain momentum, and it's going to drive your fundraising efforts. You're going to want to use a user-friendly auction software, possibly the same one that you used in the past at your live events. So something I like to do, possibly maybe 4 Fridays leading up to the event, is to highlight different auction items that are most desirable, via email or social media to your registered and non-registered guests. This is going to help drive curiosity and desire. So moving to 2 weeks prior, You can share that you're going to have some really cool experiences, right? Like maybe a virtual mixologist, and encourage guests to get needed supplies to make your theme cocktail at home. Even though you can't serve them your signature cocktail, they can still taste the theme and participate. This is going to enhance their virtual experience and create that fun environment for them. But you want to make sure that you develop a cocktail that's pretty simple yet creative, one that's straightforward and everyone can make, and have your mixologist do a step-by-step presentation on how to make it so it gets your guests up and moving. So the week of the event, this is where you're going to want a Monday morning. Remind guests that your auctions is going to be ending this week on Saturday, day of the event. Create a sense of urgency somehow that they need to view these items. Here's where you want to drive up the pre-bidding. So the night of your auction, you're already at this solid number and you can kind of just sit back and relax and watch the numbers go up. So Wednesday, we're at Wednesday. So we're midweek. Here's when you want to share possibly a sneak peek of your planned entertainment to grab their attention. Maybe you can hint to or tell your guests what musicians will be performing. You want to make sure that you actually hire a musician that will be well received over a virtual platform as well. One that will make your guests get up and dance in their living rooms. But let's diversify here. You don't want to just have music and presentations, right? You want to throw in, maybe a comedian. You want there to be so much going on that they are just enthralled with your program, because that's kind of what it is. There's going to be some downtime, but you want to just pretty much have as much going on as possible so they don't get up and walk away. So Thursday, here is where you're going to send out that final email. This is going to be the recap of everything that you have sent them prior. This is the email that will keep their excitement going. Remind them what they need for that specialty cocktail, what their attire should be so they're in the spirit and kind of participate in this contest. Who will be entertaining them, kind of like maybe like a run a show for the evening. This is going to help drive that excitement. And then Saturday, you've made it to event day. You just want to just stay upbeat, stay positive, and just remember, just like a live event, there are going to be bumps, but you're most likely going to be the only one noticing it. I have to constantly tell myself that as I threw galas. I was probably the only one noticing the huge bumps that I was watching. Okay, so now let's take the traditional seated fundraising event and turn it hybrid. Let's look at the hybrid gala. So again, even though it's hybrid, you're still going to start that auction 30 days in advance. It's only going to help your revenue numbers. It's going to increase that awareness of your event, hopefully drive your attendance and participation. And again, I love highlighting a few items just to kind of like as teasers of what's out there that you have really cool going on so they go to your site. But here is where the hybrid part kicks in. Now, you're going to want to spread the event over a 3-day period. I would suggest a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, possibly. Identify committed supporters, board members, or table hosts, and ask them to have small dinner gatherings in their homes. Now, for galas, most of your tables are purchased by one person, right? Or one business, and then they invite people. So that really shouldn't be hard to find hosts for them. And as you're asking to use their home, assure them that you're going to handle everything. You could do a couple of things here. You can scale back the menu to past hors d'oeuvres since the chef can't be at each home. But split up and use the wait staff that you would normally use during the larger event to serve and clean the house. You could possibly do a dessert portion that's seated if you want to add an additional scale of formalness. If you think some hosts would prefer a dinner that's entirely seated, some caterers and chefs will agree to prepare meals that will be picked up that day, and the waitstaff will only have to reheat and plate each dish. It's really up to the host on how elaborate they want to get in their own home. And you're going to want to take some of your decor budget and dress up their homes, right? Make the guests feel as if they were at the event on site as much as possible. This is also a great time to develop some type of small presentation, maybe explaining the theme of what your effort supports. You have some high-level supporters at these types of events. You want to use your time wisely. Share your near future plans and maybe a few of your struggles to let them in. Make them a part of your team. A little transparency is always great in a small setting like this. And also, you want to make sure which staff will go to which home. You want to plan that out accordingly. Utilize those relationships to the fullest. You want to place the right staff at the right house in front of the right guests. Okay, so here we have the in-person COVID gala. This is the one that I hope to see more of and experience next year. So this is the first time I've ever done this. I'm actually put my own pictures in here. That's my husband and I. We went to this gala last July. Can you believe it? I was so excited. So this is I'm showing you what I kind of witnessed. So something they did, at first they started that auction early, 30 days in advance, right? Highlighting some items, right? We got those emails. It got me interested. It got me going. I got some bidding started. So, but with this version, I want you to make sure that you start sharing your plan earlier than you normally would. And I want you to make it more detailed than you normally would. Personally, I had so many questions about this event prior to attending, and I will say I knew nothing about it going into it. I Googled it. I went on their website. I couldn't figure out what was going to happen, what was going to be different, what kind of safety measures they were including. So I didn't have a clear picture of what to expect. And that's okay for me. I don't need it. I'm not a person that needs a clear picture. But that's not going to be right for everyone else's personalities. You don't want someone not to attend because they just aren't sure what you're doing to make the event safe. Like, you want to let your guests know if the event will be, is it inside or outside, right? So right now that's a huge, huge key player. This event here was actually both. So you can see outside, we're not required to wear masks, but inside we were. You want to share how you're preparing for this event. This is where you need to be extremely transparent. Allow the guest to feel comfortable and even more sure of coming by sharing what you have planned regarding cleanliness and safetyness and everything, so they know kind of what to expect. Let them know how you're going to keep them safe throughout the evening. What precautions and measures are you enforcing for their comfort? And you want to make sure with these galas and these really high level events where your major donors are there, that if you can customize it, do it. If this event of yours, if this gala or seated event is 100% seated for the entire evening, some people might want smaller tables with less people. So try it. This might increase your rental budget. Yes, I know, but you're at least allowed to have the event and you'll get the participation that you want. This is where you should reach out to your board, get all of their requests, be prepared for them and anything that's going to come your way that evening. You might want to have some backup rentals, right? So like I said, this one was an indoor-outdoor event. You can see here that I have the tables were high cocktail tables with only 2 per table. Now this was back in July, so I can hope that we're past this stage with seated events. But your older generation still might gravitate towards this. Be diversified and make sure you can accommodate as much as possible. And as you can see here, that the wait staff and the entertainment was also required to wear masks. And okay, just a little tip for the ladies here. I'm 5'3", so I have to have everything hemmed. I had the remaining material from my dress made into a mask, so it matched my dress perfectly. Just a little tip. Got a lot of compliments on that one. Okay, so let's move on to the registration-driven fundraising event that can be done virtually. I like to think about golf tournaments when I'm talking about this example. So you want to clearly convey how this event will work virtually. Overly shared details regarding how it's going to run. Everyone is new to these virtual events and all these adjustments. And then I'm talking about your staff too. So clearly state the changes of the event so your staff is able also to convey what's different. So build a timeline and send it to your participants early so there's no confusion of what dates will be milestones for this event. You can also do like a Q&A document and publish it on your website. Attach it to your outgoing emails and share it in social media. Be as explicit as possible so your registrants don't get confused and you don't want them to get frustrated. And with the date, instead of choosing just one day for this event, this challenge, now you can designate a range for the tasks to be completed. So if you're thinking again about a golf tournament here, this allows for more players to participate and from like everywhere. Ideally, you want to give them probably about like 2 weeks to play on a golf course or complete the required task and then turn their scorecard into you. And to make sure that these virtual tasks, challenges, events are fair, you're going to need to set requirements and restrictions in advance. So for, let's say, a golf tournament again, you want to ensure the courses that the participants played are equivalent. And those courses require that certain golf course rating, right? This is going to establish that sense of legitimacy, and your registrations are going to feel equal. So sponsors, again, you got to have sponsors. So sponsors will be surrendering that on-site exposure as this goes virtual, but that doesn't mean you can't recognize them. There are many ways to expose these guys. Your website, it's such a powerful tool. It's a high traffic area, and your designated event page is way more valuable than you think. Your social media is also a great way to share information about your event without your supporters feeling targeted. Keeping your social media page up to date is a great way to communicate and thank your sponsors publicly. You can email. Email is still good. It's still valid. Every time you send out an email about the event, your top level sponsor should be included, some type of recognition there. And donor acknowledgement letters, that's also a great way to recognize your title sponsor, even on a possible flyer, snail mail style. And then you have your digital swag bags. You can fill a digital swag bag with discount codes, free offers, contests, sponsor information. These are great ways for your sponsors to shine and get registrants to visit their website and try out their goods. Even if the event's a certain level, if it's of a fancier level and you have the budget, you can mail out some swag bags so it's not virtual. Okay, so let's move on from events and quickly chat about meetings. Your smaller single day virtual meetings, like maybe your board meetings. These have all changed too. So preparation. So in advance, you want to make sure your attendees have the documents needed to be successful, know your audience, and get the necessary information to them in a timely fashion. Each participant is individualistic, so make sure not to treat them as a group, especially your board. Some members might need the information printed and mailed while others will read it online. Make sure you gauge what each person requires. Your agenda. You're going to want to send this out earlier than you normally do. They're going to have questions leading up to the meeting, and you want to make sure that it runs smoothly and get all of those bumps out of the way. Their time is valuable, so be strict with your timeline on your agenda. You have their attention for one day and you don't want to waste it. So make sure you add in those frequent breaks since there are many distractions at home virtually. Allowing for these pauses are going to increase their attention and productivity. And collaboration, right? Promote this as a working meeting and not a gathering where leadership just reports to the group. Make sure to include your recent successes, but keep their attention by encouraging their thoughts, ideas, and participation. Encouraging their peers to report on certain topics, changing presenters often is going to help with that attention span. Listening to one voice all day long, that's just going to make them tune out. And you want to incorporate some fun to liven up the meeting. This is the new norm right now for us. Okay, we don't know when we're going to go back to our old routines. So you want to start your meetings off with like maybe an interactive game, develop an activity that might reveal some exciting facts about the group, possibly something from their childhood, younger days, some embarrassing like little things. And this is going to help honestly liven up your scene. So my team, my department, we actually just did recently a one-day virtual event, and each person was assigned another teammate. And we had to send them a $20 white elephant present. And we opened up these presents live on camera and we had to guess who it was from. It definitely helped liven up the meeting. And I can tell you, it was pretty entertaining. And you want to follow up. Don't waste these opportunities. Follow up on questions asked and ideas presented. Closing the gap will ensure they feel heard and validated. Send out a survey to see what improvements can be made for the next meeting. Every organization is unique, and your attendees might have some great custom ideas. And finally, so we have traditional events, larger meetings, so those conferences. And of course, the perfect example is BBCon. I hope everyone was able to attend this year. It was a free event and it was 100% virtual. Normally we have about 3,000 attendees attend each year wherever it's located, but this year we had over 38,000 attendees. And this is huge for Blackbaud. We had over 70 countries in attendance and over 1,000 social media posts with just the one hashtag BBCon. So here we were able to have more sessions, more presenters, because we weren't limited to rooms. We developed virtual happy hours, virtual information booths. We had networking opportunities galore. This helped us, Blackbaud, become more aware of how powerful the virtual conference can actually be. Now, something that was helpful that we did, we pre-recorded all of the sessions. I'm not sure if y'all knew this. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share this, but each session was pre-recorded. So as you're watching the session, the speaker is actually on the other side live answering the questions for you. This also ensured that we were not having any technical issues or couldn't connect with someone's internet, and everything just ran really smoothly. So I'm sure we're going to have BBCon in person next year, but I'm going to tell you that we most likely will have a much larger virtual presence because we realize the value of our customers being able to attend remotely. Okay, how much time? Okay, I'm gonna speed through this. Okay, so we want to quickly talk about stewardship, empowering the supporters, because it really just plays a factor in absolutely everything. So let's just start with the definition of stewardship really quickly. The definition of stewarding is the responsibility of overseeing, protecting something considered worth caring about. Preserving a relationship between your donors and your volunteers is really one of the most important things that you can do to retain them. Here's a stewardship plan that I created for any gift received during the week of during the event. So I'm gonna let y'all read this. I'm not gonna read it out because I think I'm short on time. But I will send this presentation to y'all later, but it can show you exactly what you need to do. And let me just note right now that every gift needs to be acknowledged within 48 hours. That is the number one thing in fundraising, if y'all are not aware. So there's only one thing I like to harp on really quickly. As you're planning these events for 2021, you're developing committees and sending out surveys. Take a step back, put yourself in the donor's shoes, and think about what would make you feel comfortable. Think like your donor. This is literally going to strengthen your relationship and have that positive outcome. So I bet if you were the donor, you would want to know what the organization you support is doing daily, weekly during this pandemic, right? How is your favorite organization handling this crisis? And what are they doing to keep their campus, visitors, staff safe, like pictured here? Share your extra steps of protocol is super important to donors right now. People that are giving, they want to make sure they're giving to organizations that are being cautious and are being careful. You can see here the College of Charleston is forming how they're keeping campuses clean and students safe. This isn't necessarily directed link to any type of event, but it shows they're communicating what they're doing so their donors know they're being smart. It's great to over-inform. This could make some of their supporters feel more comfortable about attending, their in-person hybrid events. And this is something I want to quickly share with you. I pulled this from the South Carolina Aquarium. This is their current campaign. It's transparent, it's impactful, and they're letting the donor into their world. You want to make sure your supporters know your successes and your struggles. Here, They're letting the community, their donors, their volunteers, imagine what the world would be like without their organization. Donors want to know what's going on. They want to help right now. If they think your organization is doing just fine during the pandemic, they might skip your event. But if they know that you need them, they're more likely to show up and support you. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. The community will rally behind you. And my last slide here. Okay, so I just want to mention this because you're going to get a lot of traffic right now on your website because of COVID, and more than normal. So I pulled a few examples of how some organizations are informing their community of their safety precautions. Sharing extra steps of protocol is important to donors right now. Again, people want to give to organizations that are being smart. You can see here that Cheekwood Botanical Gardens and the Gilead are sharing what patrons need to know before visiting their facility. The website is so valuable right now, you need to use it wisely. These are all smart communicative ways to steward while sharing your best practices. So that's all I have for you today, but there is my email address. So if y'all have any questions, I don't think we have time for them right now, more than welcome to email me on the side, and I will answer you one-on-one.
All right. Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm Heather Parsons. I'm the VP of Programs for AFP Austin and a local consultant here in Austin. Amy did have to hop off for 1 o'clock, but I do want to say thank you again, Tanya. That was amazing and very informative. And also thank you for Blackbaud's support this year for our chapter. We really appreciate it very much so. Just a real quick thing. Our next general virtual education session will be January 14th. And we'll be featuring 2 of the coaches from Korn Ferry. And they'll be talking about how to advance and manage your development career. AFP Global has a partnership with Korn Ferry to help with development career building. So this is part of that. We're taking advantage of that partnership. So I hope you'll take advantage of that as well. It's January 14th, 2021. And I think there's a question about sharing the slides. We are recording this, so we will share the recording and we will share the slides as well. So thank you, Tanya, thank you again for presenting today. And thank you to everyone who attended today and who's attended our programs this year. I hope you have a great holiday session or holiday season rather, and we will see you in 2021. Thank y'all so much.